Good evening, everybody, and welcome. My name is Dave Wild. I'm the president of Next Stage Realty International, and it is indeed a pleasure for me to be here with you and share a little bit more information about Next Stage Realty International. Personally, I've been in the real estate business myself for a long time, having started in 1973. So as you can imagine, there have been a lot of changes that have taken place in that length of time, and I've obviously lived through many of those changes. We're at a point in time right now where I think that there's another change, a paradigm shift, if you will, that is necessary in the industry, for the industry today. And that's what Next Stage Realty is all about. So I'm going to share with you, as we call it, the I and the we of real estate. Now, the I and the we of real estate right now probably means nothing to you. That's okay. That's what our presentation is all about and what I hope you'll understand and appreciate when we finish this evening. Let's start by talking a little bit about the industry itself, and I'm going to kind of talk in the first person here. I heard opportunity knocking. In 2010, there were almost 5 million homes that were sold in the United States, and that approached $1 trillion in home sales value, which generated about $40 billion in real estate commissions for brokers and salespeople around the country. Now, that's astounding to a lot of people because why? The market supposedly is as bad as it's been, if not worse, the worst market since World War II. And I used to say arguably since World War II, and anymore, I just take the arguably out. I think this is the worst real estate market we've had since World War II. So those numbers are astounding to a lot of people because they don't realize that there's still that much business being done out there. Well, the good news is, I mean, it's not as good as it was back in its peak in 2005, but there is a lot of business being done. Now, I travel all over the country and have the privilege of speaking to groups just like you, and I always like to ask this question of them ahead of time. Are you maximizing the full potential of this industry? Now, most people, when they talk about maximizing the full potential of the industry, what are they referring to? They're referring to how much business they can do personally in their own local marketplace. How many listings can I get? How many sales can I make? What can I generate in gross commission income to myself from my production? That's the thinking. That's the old thinking. Well, with Next Stage Realty, tonight you're going to find out that that old thinking can be replaced by the new paradigm, the new way of thinking about your business. And no longer is your full potential just what you can do in your local marketplace, but how much of that $40 billion in commissions that are generated to brokers and salespeople around the country you can capture. That becomes your full potential. Let's kind of follow along this thinking. I came into the real estate business expecting the freedom to work my own business in my own way and unlimited potential and the ability to make the most of the opportunities before me. Now, most of you that are in the business already, probably when you remember back to the decision that you made to get into the business, that's part of what influenced you to join and get involved in real estate. Many of you are brand new in the business, and that probably had a great deal of influence in your decision as well to get into the real estate business. Now, here's the reality though. Instead, I found I worked much harder than I expected to generate the income I desired. You know, when I was a young man and came into this business, I went to a seminar early on because I realized I needed some help and I could not succeed in this business without getting some training. The very first seminar that I went to, the seminar instructor started out by saying, folks, you need to understand one thing about the real estate business. It's the highest paying hard work and the lowest paying easy work that there is. And that just had a big impact on me. And think about it. Isn't it true yet today? The people that are doing well, the people that are making good money in this business, isn't it true that they're working hard? Now, not physically hard, but they're out there spending a lot of time, exerting a lot of effort and energy in order to make that good money. And conversely, the ones that aren't making very good money aren't working very hard. They're not putting long hours into it. They're not spending a lot of time in the business, and that's why they're not making a lot of money. So the reality is that there is an opportunity to make a lot of money, but it is hard work. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of energy in order to do that if you truly want to be successful. And changes in the economy and other forces beyond my control could devastate my business almost overnight. We certainly saw that for those of you that were in the business in late 2005 and early 2006. In some marketplaces, things just almost came to a screeching halt, almost as if somebody put the brakes on this giant machine called real estate, and it almost came to a stop. And there wasn't anything we could do about it because of those external forces that were affecting the business. And of course, as we all know, when the market fluctuated, so did my income. Because your income is dependent upon one of the things, the market conditions. So I asked myself a few key questions, and follow along and see if these don't resonate with you. Does my income justify the hours and effort I expend to produce it? Think about that. Those of you that are making good money, we know you're working hard, you're working long hours, you're away from your family a lot. If you have children, it's tough to miss some of their events because you have to go out and do that business. Is it worth it? We have to ask ourselves, yes, we might be making good money, but is all the time, all of the effort, all of the things that we're missing about the rest of our life, is it really worth it? Do market fluctuations make it difficult to build a stable career? Well, of course they do, right? When times were good, back in that 2002 through 2005 time frame, I mean, it was almost like shooting ducks in a rain barrel, wasn't it? You didn't have to be very good to hit something. And that's the way it was. Now, 2006, the market tightened up. 2007, it got a little worse. 2008, it got a little worse. We're thinking it's going to get better. 2009, not a whole lot better. 2010, here we are in 2011, and we're still struggling with the market conditions. That does make it difficult to build any kind of a stable career, doesn't it? How long do you want to continue working at your current pace? Now think about this industry. It's a great industry. As I say, I've been in it since 1973, and I can't imagine doing anything else. But the industry is very interesting in this regard. If I want to make more money this year than I did last year, what has to happen? I have to do more this year than I did last year, right? I mean, how many of you are in marketplaces where the appreciation, the home price appreciation is going to give you a raise? You know what I mean, right? I mean, the increase in the value of the home goes up 10%, so you've given yourself a 10% raise since you get paid on commissions. Well, most of us, unfortunately, aren't in those marketplaces anymore. So if we want to make more this year than last year, we have to do more this year than we did last year. Would you agree? Well, when we do more this year than last year, that means it takes more time, doesn't it? And what are you going to do when all of a sudden all of your time is devoted to your business? See, that's one of the challenges that we have. Those that are truly successful, many times their business becomes their life. And I'm not sure that it should be that way. We want to help you have a better life, and your business should help you have that better life. What will I do if I'm unable to continue working? Now, most of us don't like to think about this, but heaven forbid you have an accident or an illness and you're laid up for 6 or 8 or 9 months. What happens to your income? It stops, doesn't it? Because the reality of this business is, if you're not out there able to generate that business yourself, it doesn't happen. Your income stops. And the last question, would I like to make more money without working even harder than I am now? Well, wouldn't we all? But as I talked about, the reality is, if you want to make more this year than last year, you have to do more, which means you have to work more, which means your life is affected. So those are the challenges that we have. Suddenly, I realized I was in the world of real estate. See, now you're starting to see what we refer to when we say the real estate. It's all up to me. I have to go get the listings. I have to make the sales. I have to do all the paperwork. I have to go out and get the financing. It's just one thing after another, isn't it? That's the world of real estate. You're all by yourself. It's all up to you. It's all dependent upon you. And the thing that we don't think about is that means it's all limited to you. So when your career is built on and everything is up to you, dependent upon you, and limited to you, you are in a box. And no matter what, sometimes you just can't get out of that box. You start bumping on the sides and the top and the bottom of the box, but you just can't get out of the box because you just can't do any more. So when it's all up to you, you are limited to what you can do. Your income is limited to your own personal production. If you want to give yourself a raise, you have to go out and do more. And your personal production is limited to your local marketplace and your available time. What happens when you're already working 10 or 12 hours a day? Can you work 13 or 14 hours? No. So there are limitations, aren't there? And at some point, you just can't do any more. That's the reality of this business that we're in. Let's take just a moment before we move on and talk about a couple of what we call out-of-the-box visionaries. The first gentleman that you see on the screen here, you probably don't recognize his picture, his face, but you certainly recognize his name. That's Henry Ford. Now, we all know who Henry Ford is, right? And the question is, how many cars would Henry Ford have built if he had to build each one by himself? Well, obviously, that's a rhetorical question, isn't it? Because we all know that if Henry Ford had to go out and build all of those cars himself, there would be no Ford Motor Company. Now, the next gentleman we all recognize, there's our friend Bill Gates, the richest man again in the country, I think second richest now in the world. But the same question with Bill Gates. How long would it have taken Bill Gates to create all of those Microsoft products, to create all of the things that Microsoft created, if he and even his partner Paul Allen had to do all of the programming himself? There would certainly be no Microsoft, would there? Well, maybe there would be a Microsoft, but it certainly wouldn't be the behemoth that it is today, dominating so much of the software industry. They'd probably have a nice little company, and they'd have a few products that they sold, and they'd probably do very well and make money, but it wouldn't be what it is today. So what is it that these two entrepreneurs, and quite frankly almost every other successful entrepreneur, know and understand that most of us may not? They understand what we call the power of we. And the power of we has everything to do with the multiplication of effort. Let's go back to Henry Ford. Henry Ford was able to build all of those cars because he hired thousands of, if not tens of thousands of people to create and build all of those automobiles. He didn't try to do it himself. He knew of the limitations of trying to do it himself. The same with Bill Gates. Bill Gates was able to create all of those software products to build the company that we know today as Microsoft because he hired thousands of people to help him do all of that. He didn't try to do it himself. They understand, and almost all successful entrepreneurs understand the limitations of that I world. There's only so much you can do by yourself, and if you're truly going to be successful at building a business, you have to multiply your efforts. Well, that's what Next Stage Realty is all about. And what I'm here to share with you is the end of the I world of real estate, where you have all of those limitations, and the birth of the we real estate age, where there are no longer any limitations except those that you put on yourself. The Next Stage business model is evolutionary. It represents the next age of real estate. See, things are always evolving, and the real estate industry is no different. It's already evolved from what it was 40 or 50 years ago, and we're right at the beginning of another evolution. And what we want to do is lead that evolution into the next age of real estate. And quite frankly, that's how we came up with our name, Next Age Realty. Here's how it works. Very simple. In addition to the sales commissions agents earn on the production, their own production, they earn commission bonuses on the production of other agents they bring into the company. So it's real simple. If I bring Sally into the company and Sally has a closing, I get paid a sales bonus. Sally, of course, makes her normal commission. But it doesn't stop there. It's not just on the ones that you bring in personally, it's also on the ones that those people bring in. That means if Sally brings in Joe, and Joe has a closing, he gets paid his sales commission, but Sally gets a sales bonus, and so do I. And it doesn't stop there. It's on the production of the agents even those agents bring in, and so on. So everybody has an opportunity to make income beyond what they produce personally. Now, I love this slide because this slide shows